was happening. Live on the Federal Outrage commune was popping out there, party people. Let's share out that live link. Oh, we're going to talk about some Hollywood seduction here, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. I'm going to talk about what I was talking about on stage tonight. Goddamn, I'm sending out emails to anybody and everybody who has a goddamn address out here in Hollywood land. And I'm trying to get my script picked up, ladies and gentlemen. We live on Facebook. All right, we shared it out. What's popping, everybody? Just ticked over to Monday, March 11th, 2019. I was driving around in Beverly Hills today. What's good, Proxnoid? Driving around in Beverly Hills today, hoping I was gonna go back to Eddie Murphy's neighborhood. I got cards and I got envelopes ready to slip under his gate like a goddamn creep who's trying to get his screenplay produced. God damn it. I know Eddie Murphy's address. If anybody has is located in the Los Angeles area and, wants to get arrested with me, or, has a drone, remote control drone that they can help me fly over his gate and drop it in his goddamn yard, dude. Low-key tranny. I don't know. He might have just got confused in the darkness one night out here in Hollywood, ingested a little too much cocaine, had his vision blurred. Some of these trannies are pretty deceptive out here, dude. There was one time I was on a dating app, and this girl looked super fine, and I took 3 hours out of the middle of my day to drive from Westchester down by LAX, the Los Angeles airport there, up to downtown, which is all the way across LA proper. And I drove through midday traffic all day to get to her apartment complex. And it wasn't until I got in the lobby of her apartment complex that she called me on the phone and informed me that she was not in fact born a woman. And I was like, oh yeah, nobody's born a woman. You were born a girl, right? And then you grew into a woman, and now we're here. And it was like, nope. It's like she just expected me to be like, well, I did make the drive. I mean, what's another dick in the equation? I mean, fuck it. I got a lot of goddamn questions to ask, okay? Are you post-op? Do you have a movie role to offer me? Are you going to force me to watch you jerk off in a plant? I had a question to ask myself. Would I fuck a tranny? She was post-op if I was able to be in a buddy cop movie with Tom Cruise. That's the big question. And would I be able to forget that horrific experience if I was, in the movie with Tom Cruise? I'm preparing for my scene and I'm just breaking down in tears. He's like, what's wrong? I'm having flashbacks and shit. I'm just really getting to the role, Tom. He's like, it's a comedy movie. I'm sorry, Tom. I'll try to be more professional. I know it's my first gig. And then Tom Cruise would convince me to join Scientology, and I would accept, so I wouldn't have to do any more sexual favors. I would just have to, join the cult, ladies and gentlemen. And that was my training experience out here in LA. See them walking around Hollywood. They got broad shoulders, some of them. But some of them you got to take that second and third look to even realize. They got some top quality surgery going on out here, and it's creepy. It's creepy because they always want to try to be deceptive with the shit and, bring it up after you've already fucked. It's like, wow, that surgically crafted pussy was really convincing. That's the creepy part of the transgender thing. You got to be upfront with the shit, you know. But that's a goddamn shame that, you know, I think that's what drove Eddie out of stand-up comedy, is he didn't want to have to address it on stage, because he had this character that he played that wasn't exactly him. He had a lot of, you know, masculine bravado on stage, and off stage, you know, he was probably a little more silly and, you know, feminine acting. He was raised by a single mom, and so he was probably a little more feminine off stage. And you could see it in the Saturday Night Live shit he did, and a lot of the, you know, movie roles he did. He has a lot of femininity in him, but on stage he was this hyper masculine, like, alpha who was talking about fucking anything and everything and making fun of gay people, and you know. And so when that tranny shit happened, he couldn't play that stage character anymore. He couldn't be the badass Eddie Murphy that was in Raw and Delirious. And so he would have had to totally revamp his whole stage persona. And so that's why I don't think he came back. But, you know, that shit is in the past enough now where I think, you know, he could easily come back and play that same character in a movie and people are going to buy it immediately. But I think that might be an insecurity with Mr. Murphy there. But, you know, if he's watching right now, I just want you to know we all still love you, Eddie. You can make a comeback. It's not too late. Come back and play in my movie. Play Freddie Mac, the main character in my movie. The movie's called Panther Tale, blaxploitation film about, you guessed it, a black man with a gigantic penis who gets caught up in a sting operation with the DEA and the Mexican drug cartels there while he's trying to start a porn career. All right? So that's the script. I got some manager meetings with out here in Hollywood. And, you know, it's just, it's so weird. It's like trying to, you know, it's like trying to fuck a really hot chick who comes from a really rich family. It's like trying to convince these managers to rep you and get somebody to buy your script. It's a goddamn delicate process, all right? Because these people, most of them didn't earn their positions of power. If they're agents or managers out here in Hollywood, they just kind of, you know, a lot of it's in nepotism, fathers and sons of, you know, fathers getting sons into the business or their daughters into the business. And then, you know, those are the worst type of people to have power, the ones that didn't actually earn it legitimately, because then they're like, oh, you want to get some of this manager pussy, don't you? You want to have your Hollywood dreams, don't you? Oh. And I had a couple weird experiences with manager meetings out here over Panther Tail. The first one, I talked to this dude on the phone, and you know, something about my voice, I guess, when I showed up, he was like, oh, I really expected you to be black. It's like that was my first introduction to Hollywood. You didn't fit the diversity quota. What's going on? And, you know, he had a big-time ex-football player who was there, and he was, like, supposed to be financing the project, and he looked like he expected me to be black, too. He's like, when he shook my hand, he's like, oh, hi. And then he went back to his phone for the rest of the meeting. And the manager tried to explain the script to this football player guy who was financing it, and I could tell that the manager hadn't actually read the script, and so that was fun. And then the second meeting was a lot more fruitful. This guy was like, oh my God, it's hilarious. It's the funniest thing I've ever read. Like, this could actually, it's viable. We could make this shit, you know? And we were having a good conversation about it and talking about it. And then we were talking about a couple little adjustments I could make. And so I went home immediately after the meeting. I was all fired the fuck up. I went home, made the adjustments immediately, wrote new scenes, edited the script, and sent it out to him that same night. And he probably woke up that next morning looking at the email like, he just wants it too bad now. He's coming on too strong. He's too desperate for Hollywood stardom. How dare he? And I didn't hear back from him for like fucking a month. And then that when he did get back to me, it was like, oh, I'm busy doing some other shit. Just keep writing. Just, you know. And it's like, God damn it. But, you know, we're staying vigilant out here. I had somebody, I had a weird little email exchange with the manager today where it was like, oh, thanks for reaching out. I'm busy in it because it's pilot season. Not looking to take on any writers at the moment, but thanks and feel free to stay in touch. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I went ahead and sent the script. I was like, well, if you know anybody who'd be willing to read it, feel free to pass it on. And he's like, definitely, buddy. That is awesome. I was like, it's a hot piece of material. He's like, definitely, buddy. That's awesome. It's getting some traction. Keep in touch. Can't wait to hear about, you know, all the great work you're putting out there. And it's like this fake, like weird conversation. It's like, I wanted you to help me get it out there. It's like, glad to hear it's getting some traction. No, you're the tread on the tires. I wanted the traction to happen through you. It's like the power dynamics are all weird. It's just like after you hook up with a girl and, you know, you look at her like, you know, it's that moment of like, who's going to text who first the next time for the next meetup. And she's like, you know, you're like, yeah, go ahead and text me anytime. And then she's like, well, yeah, sure. Text me. And it's like, no, you heard what I said. You text me first. I'll wait on the text. That's the power dynamic. You want to hang out with me more than I want to hang out with you. All right? You want the script more than I want you to buy it. Yes, I have to include the dick pic with the script. You know, but they got to ask for it first. All right, it's got to be consensual dick pic. You can't just surprise somebody with a dick pic. All right. That's maybe they'll appreciate it. Maybe they'll appreciate the non-consent of the whole thing. Maybe they'll check my Twitter and see that I've liked a Trump tweet before and cancel the whole thing. We were gonna buy your script. It was looking to be a huge summer blockbuster, but you liked that Trump tweet. What's the story behind that? I don't know, dude. It's not a dependable fucking pathway. That's why I'm coming on here with you beautiful people and, you know, build my own crew of rational people that I can talk to about the thoughts I have in my head, and I don't have to fucking censor myself and pretend like I don't see things that are going on, dude. But, you know, I do, in my scripts, I don't usually take on political issues head on. I usually try to like put a big fun story over the top of some philosophical underpinning. Like in Panther Tale, he finds like $10 million under the bed in his hotel room where, you know, it's been left by one of these cartel member motherfuckers. And, you know, the story is kind of like about nothing you get for free is good for you. It's kind of a commentary on the welfare state, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't earn the money, you're not going to appreciate it. But yeah, I know Eddie Murphy's address. All right, so the next time I go to that neighborhood, I will be, you know, sending a little message. I did deliver Postmates to his house one time to his lovely daughter Zola. She got some poke. And I delivered to the fucking house. Really wanted Eddie to answer the door. He did not. Young man, what are you out here in LA doing? Oh, you write scripts? You got anything for me? God damn it. But yeah, there's so much trash in the movies nowadays, man. Somebody's got to bring it back. You know? Somebody's got to put some truth back in the narrative. So I'm writing one right now about, kind of a Trump-like figure that goes into he wins a senatorial election, and it's like a total upset. Like nobody expected it to happen. He's like a business guy who's an outsider, but he's not bombastic and arrogant and egotistical like Trump. He's kind of a meek, kind of just family guy, really nice and really naive and honest. And he goes into Washington D.C. and it's just about him slowly discovering how irredeemably evil everyone is around him, and he has like this view of like patriotism and working across the aisle and getting things done, and he just wants to discuss policy, and like everybody's like all they're doing is trying to get him to do blow on camera and like be with an underage prostitute so they can get blackmail on him. And so it's like this constant, like he's having to avoid this minefield of demons. And I won't ruin the twist for you, but he uncovers something super sinister, and it turns into a little bit of a horror comedy in the middle. And so that one's a little bit more on the nose, but we'll see how that goes, ladies and gentlemen. I laugh out loud while I'm writing it, so that's usually a good sign. He's not a secret tranny, Proxnoid. I would never make fun of trannies, okay? I'm trans positive. We're trans positive here on the Outrage TV podcast. I fully support trans women, you know, going into the WNBA and making it a whole lot more exciting. All right? I want to see them bitches getting crossed up and dunked on. All right? For progressivism. It reignites my own hoop dreams, dude. I want to throw on a wig, you know, as long as I don't have to actually chop my cock off. I could eat a tofu salad and get some estrogen flowing, you know. If the WNBA will have me, you know, I wouldn't mind taking that ride to superstardom, dude, and then using the Twitter followers I get from my WNBA stint to continue my stand-up comedy career. All right, decent idea, I think. And I get the progressives on my side, okay? Trans woman dominating the league. MVP 3 years in a row, 30 points a game. Crushing it, all right? But yeah, it's hard to fit everything I want to do in the day because I got to go out and work this goddamn Postmates situation. Trying to get the wonderful Jewish manager of my apartment complex to hand over the reins and let me come into the Jewish conspiracy here in Hollywood and start managing the apartment complex. So then I can get free rent plus $1,000 on top, and then I will not have to go out and beat my car to death and run it into the ground serving these people their food in Beverly Hills. It's so goddamn tiresome. It's a lot better than working in an actual restaurant, though. I used to work in an Olive Garden in Culver City, California, and that was... Isn't it so nice to work alongside middle management nothings who, you know, their dreams are long past and they just hate life and they pour it all out on you. And it's like, ah. I did have some good experiences with the ladies in Culver City. And the breadsticks were tremendous, Proxnoid. All right, I would hit some push-ups and I would go in there and have that soup, salad, and breadsticks, son. I would crush it every day. They would give us an employee discount for $1.10. You get that unlimited soup and salad. And boy, I was taking advantage of that every goddamn day. That was that hearty meal, son. You know. But it was an Olive Garden in the mall, which is weird. Like, that's the worst restaurant job you could ever have. What up, Dirtweed? You want to work in a restaurant where it's a standalone restaurant. Like, this shit was tucked in a mall. Like, you want the standalone restaurant so people know what the fuck they're getting into. They planned to come out and eat. They're dressed kind of nice. It's a family, it's an occasion to come out and eat. You know, even if it is some shitty Olive Garden food, it's an occasion to come out and eat. But when it's in a mall, you just get the mall stragglers, you know, crawling through on their bellies, like tired from shopping. and they come in with their kids who are having tantrums and shit and slinging spaghetti all over the wall. And it's like, Jesus Christ. That was the first experience I had with a live social justice warrior when I first got to Los Angeles. She was there with her, it was a black family, and it was the mother, the father, and their daughter. And they were eating and they were all nice and everything. And they had like a legit African accent. They were like Nigerian kind of sounding. And so I asked them where they're from originally. And the parents lit up and they were like, oh, talking about Nigeria and everything. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I went to the kitchen and came back and I was boxing up their food or something. And the daughter looked at me and she's like, you know what you just did was very offensive. All right. Just because my parents have an accent, like you have to ask about their original ancestry. It's like, it's not acceptable. And I was just like froze while I was boxing up their food. I was like, what the fuck? I made eye contact with the parents. I was like, you sent her to the wrong college. She has been indoctrinated with a brainworm. Bitch, I just made you a Shirley Temple and I had the perfect fucking combination of Sprite and syrup and I made it just for you and you got no appreciation for this shit. And I actually ended up quitting. I did not jizz in the leftovers. That would have been a good idea, but you know, it's hard to do when I'm standing right there in front of the table and handing the boxes to him. That would have been a little obvious if I turned away and shuddered a little bit, you know. But I ended up quitting because one of the weirdo managers there basically accused me of being a racist. Because there were these people that would come in, and 90% of the time it was black people, but it wasn't about the color of their skin, it was the behavior. It was, you could tell by what they were wearing and how they were acting that it was going to be a problem table. Everything was going to be sent back, there was going to be arguments, and there were these regular type of people that would come in there and just fuck your whole day up and then not tip you at all and just waste your fucking time. And so I, being the perceptive individual I am, started to notice these patterns. And whenever I would see a table come up like that in my section, I would ask one of the other servers if they wanted to take it. And there was a particular day where I did this 3 or 4 times because I was just not in the mood for anybody's bullshit. And I was like, these people look ratchet as fuck. You want to take them? And, you know, do you want to work for an hour and a half for no tip? And so I was pawning my tables off on everybody else, and somebody went and snitched on the manager. And of course he assumed that I was doing it all because they were black. Oh my God. I just have an aversion to dark skin. Oh, at my tables. Oh, I can't tolerate it. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with discrimination, Proxnoid. People use the word discrimination wrong, I think. I think discrimination is good. You decide what you like and what you don't like. You know, do you discriminate? Discriminate is having, you know, free will and having some intelligence and deciding what you want to do and what you don't want to do. I discriminate. You know, I date black women. I don't date bitchy, you know, feminist white women. I discriminate against these social justice white girls out here. You know, they're intolerable and they don't have enough ass to back it up. What's up, Brandon Whiffer? This was in your recommended because you've now entered the portal of truth here on the internet. We're here breaking down all the cultural narratives and, you know, sending you in a verbal psychedelic trip of reevaluating all of your experiences in life. That's what we do here at Outrage TV. With a little friendly satire and some stories from Hollywood, you know, and just a friendly young man here from Oklahoma with his common sense and logic who just gets annoyed by bullshit. And I have an insatiable desire to point out bullshit, and, you know, I'm not opposed to nipple clamps. You haven't smoked enough reefer for this. Oh, why not? See, we're out here in Los Angeles. It's just laying around everywhere, dude. It's just you roll over in your bed and it's on your pillow. Somebody, it's like, you know, the candy on your pillow in the hotel. It's just there. And you're like, how did this get here? And it's just there, you know. I'm not a huge weed guy myself because, you know, I'm one of these waspy, you know, Germans who functions much more effectively on the booze there. Because I'm not about living in a tropical paradise and being having the attention span of a gnat or a fruit fly and going from one thing to another in like the short-term stimulation that weed offers. I'm a long-term planner. I sit and I ruminate with my natural light. You know, I buy a 15-pack because I'm K-selected. You know, I don't buy tall boys or anything like that. I plan for the long term. All right, I know I'm gonna want to drink some natural light days from now. So I get that natty pack. I get that 15-pack that I plan for the winter. All right, I'm already planning for the next Los Angeles winter here. It's gonna be slightly colder. It's gonna approach 40 degrees in the middle of the night, which is, you know, it requires a lot of planning, a lot of wood stockpiling. All right. What's up, Archer? I've been all right, man. I've just been, you know, hustling it out on Postmates here and sending every fucko out here in Hollywood an email about my movie scripts and trying to get them to respond to my shit. And, you know, trying to get another manager meeting and trying to get this screenplay shit popping off. Slowly but surely, ladies and gentlemen, they will succumb to the will, to the rationality, to the dragon energy. I'm pulling them in with a tractor beam. They will come to me. And then I will create my movie dreams, ladies and gentlemen. Because I refuse to let Hollywood die. Hollywood, I grew up on movies and stand-up comedy. I refuse to let it fall to the communists. God damn it. We must save Western civilization. We cannot give up on the institution of Hollywood. It's not lost. We've got to, you know, clean the roaches out of the corners and convince the men to, you know, not chop their cocks off. It's going to be okay. Keep your cock for the long haul. We here at Outrage TV, that's our main credo. We want to keep our spines and we want to keep our cocks, all right? We don't bend the knee. We don't apologize, all right? We write hilarious movie scripts, blaxploitation movies about black dudes with giant dicks, and then we get manager meetings, and then they blow us off for months at a time. But God damn it. I'm staying in the pocket, dude. I'm staying in the pocket. And we're going to make this shit happen out here, ladies and gentlemen. Whether it be on stage or on the big screen. Let me grab another beer. Glad to have a new listener. What was your name? Brandon Weffer. Glad to have you along. Along for the maniacal ride out here, ladies and gentlemen. Pointing out the failures of the communists. Stephen Johnson says, copyright your jokes or they'll get stolen. Well, I posted them first, and so I can refer back to the posts. People are always like, they're like, oh my God, you send your script out to these people? Are you scared that people are going to steal your script? And it's like, well, I have the email where I sent the script to them at that date and time. So you can refer back to that. Refer back to the record. And you also register your scripts whenever you get them done, and with the Writers Guild out here. Give you a little of that protecciones, you know. What's up, Archer? He says, cleaning roaches out of the corners. I'm down for that. Scrape my pipe while I'm at it. Oh, shit, Lord. Oh, shit. We got to, you know, there's a lot of spring cleaning to be done out here in Hollywood, God damn it. We're going to clean it up. All right? They can't resist the dragon energy. There's a, you know, there's a need for some legitimate masculinity and common sense in society that's not being fulfilled through the traditional entertainment media. Now it's all this, you know, everybody's got to be gay or oppressed or a victim, you know, or some kind of pathetic, you know, basket case to get any support. And that shit only goes so far. People are tired of that shit. You know, you need a strong dick in the room, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I offer. All right, I'm bringing a strong dick into these manager meetings, and I'm saying, God damn it, no, I'm not black. No, I'm not black, but I did write about a big black dick, and you're gonna laugh at it. God damn it. Outrage commune dragons, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. But yeah, dude, it's a tricky endeavor out here trying to sell the scripts. I just shotgun emails to fucking everybody. And, you know, in the meantime, I'm coming on here hanging out with you beautiful motherfucking people. And let's check out Drudge Report, see what we got going on. He keeps talking about Matt Drudge. He was talking about Venezuela. It looks like the darkness has fallen on Venezuela. Apparently they don't have internet or electricity. Oh, Archer says, I handle the money. Archer will handle the anti-gun Nimrods. Yes. I need some firearms out here, you know? I need some home protection. I look at the Donald Reddit all the time. Yesterday was Sunday Gun Day. They always post the fucking hefty machinery up there, dude. I want to exercise my Second Amendment rights. I just need some goddamn excess cashola there. And, you know, next thing you know, I'll be on my Travis Bickle shit out here setting hookers free. All right? Need that concealed carry, son. All right? So when you're talking about voting for Trump on stage in Hollywood, no, they never do anything. That's the thing. People are always scared about, you know, speaking their mind on stage in Hollywood. Oh, it's going to ruin your career or whatever. No, they never, like, it's never like a real threat. They just cave in person. They just fold like a lawn chair and then wait till you're gone and talk shit about you with their friends. And, you know, it's just hilarious to me. I enjoy it so much. You know, I enjoy confrontation. It's one of the things, it's why I'm out here. I'm a weird motherfucker, okay? I voted for Obama when I lived in Oklahoma, and I voted for Trump when I'm living in LA. So basically, you know, I just really enjoy everyone hating me. That's that's my thing. Get an AR-15 before they ban them, because if they do, two things will happen. You'll be living in tyranny and defenseless, and the AR-15 will instantly triple in price in one day. Well, I see your argument there, you know. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep arguing for free markets and getting the government smaller. But, you know, if the shit hits the fan, I may hit you up on YouTube message there before the electricity grid goes down, and I'll be on my way down to Arizona to hang with the Archer. No, I got one of the girls I hang out with out here. She grew up in Compton, and so she knows a lot of, you know, the hardcore gangbanging motherfuckers down in South Central. And so I always got that in my back pocket. All right, it's good to know dangerous looking black women with fat asses and a lot of tattoos. All right, because they got connections to some violence if you need it, you know. That's the type of women I'm attracted to. You know, fatal attraction, call it that, you know. But if there's not a risk of, you know, getting mugged while I'm walking down Venice Beach with her, I'm not interested, you know. That's how I get my respect from the brothers out here, man. You know, I'm with that big booty. Big booty game, baby. But yeah, slowly but surely, one email at a time, we're breaking down the will of these snooty Hollywood cunts. They're gonna read my script and laugh their dick off, and they probably wanted it off anyway. I'm gonna help them transition into a new gender by laughing their genitals off of their body. All right. What else is going on? So Venezuela doesn't have any goddamn power. Shock poll. Half of young Americans want to live in a socialist nation. No problem with the school system there. Everybody gets their news from Twitter, you know. Everybody gets their education from Twitter. So they just follow Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Twitter feed and think they're being educated, ladies and gentlemen. And then they're reinforced by their leftist teachers and professors. And the shit is rolling downhill. How are we getting this dumb? It's got to be dysgenics. It's got to be, you know, third world immigration and low IQ cultures moving in. And I don't know what the fuck it is, dude. How are people I think I saw something the other day that the American average IQ was going down over the past like 20 years. It went down like 7 points. That's got to have something to do with the dysgenics and the idiocracy that's a result of the welfare state, I think. Because we're rewarding people for acting like victims and acting like they can't accomplish anything and being failures. So we're subsidizing being a failure and then rewarding or taxing being a success. The AOC wants, if you make $10 million or more, 70% tax. And it's like, well, they already get taxed 40%. You know, the rich people get taxed 40% right now. They're at the highest tax bracket. If 70% is better, why not just make it 100%? I mean, if the more it goes up, the better it is. Why not just enslave the rich? That seems like a good policy platform. Enslave the rich. That's what Bernie Sanders. If Bernie won and then like he got a second term, his campaign for the second term would be to enslave the rich, I think. Instead of food stamps, you get your own slave that used to be a rich person, and you can make them wipe your ass for you and make your sandwiches, all right? Preferably the latter before the former. You know what I'm saying? You don't want any of that E. coli. But you got yourself your own rich slave, you know, formerly rich slave, all right? And you can make fun of them because they used to drive a Bugatti and now they're wiping your ass, you know. It'll be fun. And rich people deserve it because they're always evil, you know, and they participate in capitalism, which means you just want to capitalize off of the oppressed people's backs. That's all capitalism is, everybody. Follow AOC's Twitter feed and you will understand. Okay? I heard some rumblings about some campaign finance violations she made. They might be turning the heat up on her because she's just so openly retarded in the public. And I think that's literally her only supporters are these half of young Americans who want to live in a socialist nation who literally don't even have fully formed brains yet, and they're like, oh, socialism, and they have probably had shitty parents, and so they're like, I want shit for free. My parents never gave me anything for free. They didn't provide me anything. I want the government to be my new parents. AOC is my new mom. That's the mind state of these people. And so that seems like most of her supporters. But the Democratic establishment, who just likes to pretend they hate the rich and just likes to pretend they have these progressive values, I hate that term because it's just so antithetical to the actual definition of progress. But people like Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton fucking hate AOC because they're like, you're actually committed to these ideas. We just want to get power and then start wars and collect checks. Like, what are you doing? You're screwing up the whole game. And so, people like Bernie and AOC are like causing a civil war in the left, and it's pretty hilarious to watch. I thoroughly endorse it. Because what other Democratic candidate is getting actual traction besides Bernie? Like, Joe Biden announced, nobody gives a fuck, that creepy old bastard. Elizabeth Warren is done. She's dead on arrival with that whole Native American scam. She's a total joke of a candidate. Hillary said she's not running. Who the fuck else do they got? Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, or like Tulsi Gabbard? Like, nobody gives a fuck about any of these people. So it's like, who's going to run against Trump? It's a pathetic, shit show. Exactly, Archer. He says they progressed themselves into a true sexist and racist society. I thought the idea was to move past making everything about race and gender. Well, when the government has a stated goal, they always achieve the opposite end. Okay? That's a universal golden rule of the government. Whenever there's a stated goal of a government program, it will always achieve the opposite of its stated end. Because there's a gun to your head. And human nature says, if there's a gun to my head and you're trying to make me do something, or at least a threat of violence, or you're trying to make me do something, I might not, because you have a gun in my head, I might not, do the opposite in that moment, but I'm going to resent you and look to do the opposite at every, chance I can get. It's like when you beat your kids, it doesn't work. They resent you, and then they're like trying to sneak behind your back and get away with shit. It's the same thing. And so there's this government program called We're Going to End Racism and Sexism. And all it does is end up setting up industries that profit off of the continuance of racism and sexism. And so that's why you have people like Jussie Smollett out here trying to profit from the idea of there being all this racism and sexism in society and homophobia. And so there's currency in being a victim, because the continuance of it gives people political power because they say they're trying to solve this problem. So it's like, it's the same thing with the neocons. Like they're trying to bring democracy to the rest of the planet, and that's obviously never going to work. But they have that stated humanitarian goal, and so they can profit off of publicly looking like they're trying to accomplish that goal. Meanwhile, they're just collecting their political power and their shekels and their payoffs from all the big corporations. And so, yeah, it's a total shell game. But that's the Democratic plantation. They profit off of there always being racism and sexism in society. It's like, having a monopolistic police force. Well, what if nobody's breaking the laws? Well, they're going to make something else illegal so they can have something to do. Archer says that's what atheists do with Christianity. Just an off-topic thought. That's what atheists do with Christianity. I'm not following the logic there. That atheists set up an industry of debunking Christianity. Well, I think there is some value to that, because where they resent something, so they do the opposite. Okay. Well, I think there's some legitimate atheistic arguments. I mean, I am an atheist because the claim that God exists is an extraordinary claim, which requires extraordinary evidence. And so the burden of proof is upon the theists to prove that God exists, and they don't have any proof for it. And so I don't necessarily blame Christians, and I'm friends with Christians, a lot of Christians, and they're good, awesome people. If they want to argue about metaphysics, I'll argue it to the end with them because I think they're wrong. But I don't resent them, or I don't have any weird feelings, because Christianity, I've come to soften my stance on it a lot. I've listened to Stefan Molyneux talk about this a lot, because Christianity was so central in having the idea of the individual and the individual's relationship with God, instead of having the state be your God. So a lot of the Christians have that small government mentality where they're like, leave me the fuck alone. I have my own personal relationship, my own personal morality. And I think there's a separation that has to happen between the metaphysics of Christianity, which are pretty objectively insane, and the morals of Christianity, which are awesome and a great bedrock for a free society. The Ten Commandments are a great bedrock for a free society. If you take out the first couple, where it's like, you must believe in God, he's the only God. It's like, well, there's not much evidence for those, but there is some great logical proofs for why murder is wrong, why theft is wrong, why rape is wrong, that you can find in Stefan Molyneux's Universally Preferable Behavior. Because Christians have that universal morality that's applied to everybody. Like Jews and Muslims, they have morality that's applied to their in-group preference, and then they have different rules for people outside the religion, which is problematic. And not just problematic, it's destructive, because it's fundamentally totalitarian. They want to, impose their views on you. Jews do it in a very sneaky way. Arabs do it, or Muslims do it in a very sword-like way. But they're both trying to accomplish the same thing. It's subversion and control, and imposing their ideology on you, because they have a different set of moral principles for non-Jews and non-Muslims, as opposed to their in-group preference. And so Christianity is the universal moral religion that applies everything to everybody, even if you're a Christian or not. And so that's the value it has. And there's also the separation of church and state, which is huge, in order for the development of a free society, and to not have morality being legislated and whatnot. It's important shit. So Christianity was super crucial in the development of Western society, and America in particular. And so I don't have anything fundamentally against Christians. I just think they're wrong on the metaphysics, and they don't have any proof for what they're claiming. There's no proof that Jesus walked on water or became a zombie. You can still think Jesus was a great guy and had a great message. You don't have to consider him magic to do it. And I think they do themselves a big disservice when they say that, oh, he's the savior and the prophet of God and God created everything, and they don't have any evidence for it. It's a beautiful idea, and it inspires a lot of people, especially low IQ people, and it's helpful for them. So I don't blame them for doing it, but it's not true. At least provably true. Archer says, but he's an atheist too, but about 70% of atheists are such Bible thumpers, you say the J word around them and they run around like someone just lit their hair on fire. Are you talking about Jews? Oh, or Jesus. I assumed you were talking about Jews. That's hilarious. I've been listening to too much Owen Benjamin. Archer says, that's hilarious, dude. Obviously, you're talking about Jesus. Although Jesus, debatably a Jew. Archer says, you don't get transgender weirdos and all this weird shit that's going on these days in Christian families. I think there's a correlation between atheism, mental illness, and moral corruption. Yeah, there's a certain nihilism that comes along with atheists that don't have a replacement of a moral system. And that there's a certain race to the bottom of Well, if Christianity is wrong, then like it kind of fractures their brain, and they're like, well, anything goes, I guess. Let's get as fucked up as possible. And they do all the drugs, and they have all the sex, and they chop their cock off and become a different gender, and you know, everything becomes subjective. Because if you don't subject yourself, that's one of the things with Christianity is if you believe Christianity is true. What's up, Dean? If you believe Christianity is true, then you at least have a fidelity to the truth, and you have that higher moral standard to seek out what's true and what's not. If you don't have a moral truth like that in your head, then you can fall for anything. Then everything's subjective. Everything is, homosexuality is just the same as heterosexuality, and being trans is just the same as anything else. And it's like, it's all equal, and it's just, random choices that people are making, and there's no free will in it. There's no value system in it. There's no better or worse. It's all just, comparable and similar. And that is a really dangerous place to be. Because you can spiral down into, really bad drug addictions, really bad, weirdo sex shit, and it's like, it's just not good for you. So I replaced God with philosophical truth. And so that's what I worship. I worship reason and evidence. I don't have a savior. I am saving my own, I don't believe in a soul, but I'm saving my own metaphorical soul with some philosophical truth here, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we do it. I gotta piss real quick. I'm gonna come back and read some comments. Please rate the federal outrage chancellor's flow on a scale of 1 to 10. This is the most disrespectful part of the podcast for those that are new. I will keep the door open to where you can hear the chancellor's flow, and please rate it out of 10. Thank you. All right, maybe 5, maybe 6. I can do so much better, ladies and gentlemen. I should have held it in for one more beer just to get a spectacular piss on the podcast. How selfish of me. But I want to be able to concentrate on the arguments, not my swollen bladder. You know what I'm saying? Oh, thanks, Dean. Yeah, dude. It's all about that good fight. It's all about saying what you mean. Meaning what you say. All right? And that's why, a lot of these guys that, I meet at the comedy shows, they're what's up, AJ? A lot of these guys I meet at the comedy shows, they have these bits on stage where they talk about hating themselves, and they don't know why. They joke about suicide and just how much they hate themselves, and they're all smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, why do you think you hate yourself? Because you don't have any mission. You're just adrift in this, sea of nihilism, and you don't have any purpose. You're just like, whatever, dude, whatever feels good. And if you go with that impulse, whatever feels good in the moment, you're going to die, and it's going to be bad. It's not going to be a pretty picture. I mean, of course, we're all going to die, but you're going to die a slow, painful death. And you're going to be miserable the whole way through. What's up, LaCour? high enough to fuck the kneecaps off a moose. That's what I'm talking about, baby. I showed it earlier on the podcast. All right. You know what? I might as well do a pinch hit with the Outrage crew here. I haven't smoked weed on the podcast in a long time, but just for that analogy for fucking the moose kneecaps, you know, you've sold me. So let's indulge in some California herb here, ladies and gentlemen, live on the internet. What a shame. Jesus would be very ashamed of me. My atheistic ways and my live on the internet drug intake. I'm just not, you know, I'm a great moral role model, but as far as, you know, lifestyle, we're having fun out here, ladies and gentlemen. Gotta have fun while you put your work in. All right? That's why I chose stand-up comedy in the beginning. That's why I got out of engineering school. All right? Weed was one of the things that helped me realize that I didn't want to be in engineering school. Okay? I said, oh, I gotta engineer a new career path. This shit ain't gonna work. Everybody in my hall had a goddamn vaporizer or knew how to roll a blunt. And we were taking risks in Oklahoma, boy. That's 2 to 5. They catch you with a blunt, smoking in the parking lot with your homeboys. That shit gets real not fun real fast. And we did it anyway. And we came back and talked about nothing for hours on end and played Call of Duty. And so I realized I was miserable in college, dude. I realized, fuck, I'm not living out what I want to accomplish in my life. This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I thought it was just something wrong with me because I was like, my parents were like, oh, get a good job and make a lot of money and just be an engineer. Your uncle's an engineer. And I was miserable. I would sleep in. I would, you know, stay up real late. I was all pale and shit. I wasn't working out. And I would just hate going to class. And like, I was terrible with girls. And like, it was just miserable. I was in this fraternity I hated. And I was like, man, there's something wrong with me. But I was just in the wrong spot. That's a lot of people confuse like their own self-loathing with the environment they're in. Like if you're in an environment with people that don't really give a fuck about you and in a situation where you don't have anywhere to go or move up or advance, you know, if you don't have like Jordan Peterson has talked about a lot about that. I know, you know, people are trashing Jordan Peterson now. But Jordan Peterson has a lot of value to be gleaned from what he's saying. I think Owen Benjamin talks a lot of shit on Jordan Peterson because he's not, you know, as Jesus heavy as Owen is now. But Jordan Peterson talks about bearing the cross. He talks about bearing a cross and staggering uphill. Finding that challenge in your life that's big enough to inspire you and get you out of bed every day and be like, I'm going to take one more step up this fucking hill with this big fucking cross on my back. I'm going to stagger one more fucking step up this hill. And he fucking, dude, he brings me to tears when he's talking about that shit. And he's talking about saving your dad. Like, there's, like, my dad is a great guy, but I know there's a lot that he left, like, unachieved in his life. Like, I don't know. He's achieved a good amount. He was a small business owner in small town Oklahoma and shit. He had this bicycle shop and whatnot. It was a cool bicycle shop, man. But he got put out of business basically when Walmart moved in and started selling cheap little bullshit bikes for like, you know, a third of the price. And everybody in Ponca City was like, quality or half third of the price. Like, easy decision. But you know, that idea of like setting a goal that's high enough that's not where it's not unattainable, but it's right there where it's challenging enough and meaningful enough to you that it's going to keep driving you every step up that fucking hill. And you know, Coming out, that's the biggest one I could think of. Coming out here to Hollywood and teaching these goddamn communists a few lessons, ladies and gentlemen, and making them laugh at the same goddamn time. Archer says, I hated myself once, and it wasn't because I was a horrible person. It's just because everyone around me treated me like I'm worthless, so I felt worthless. Yeah, you can confuse other people's perceptions of you for reality. Really easy. That's a really easy thing to do. You know, but you got to find a way to build your own momentum and confidence. And for me, that was like figuring out my diet and my workout routine. Because I went through a lot of like terrible different versions of it. Like I used to, like I figured out low carb worked and I felt good on low carb, but I couldn't do it all the time. I wanted some pizza, I wanted some ice cream, I wanted some cookies every now and then. You know what I'm fucking saying? I want some of that sugar. I got sugar teeth, baby. So many of them. You know? I wanted them fresh baked chocolate chip cookies, dude. And so what I would do is I would have a cheat day, which is like what The Rock always talks about on his fucking 134 million follower Instagram. The goddamn Rock is just out there killing it, doing fucking dips with chains on and shit. It's like, what are you training for? God damn it. You pretend for a living now. You don't wrestle anymore. He's like 3 times as big as when he wrestled. He's like just super yoked, but he's inspiring as fuck. And he has these epic cheat day posts on his Instagram. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. But what would happen, I would be like, okay, my cheat day's on Saturday. On Friday, it would tick over to midnight the next day. And I'd be like, okay, it's on. And I'm going to the 24-hour Yum Yum Donuts and getting like half a dozen donuts and picking out there and passing out and then waking up. It's noon. I'm going to Little Caesars, getting a whole pizza to myself and going buck wild the whole day and just feeling terrible that whole day. And dude, I was like, man, I can't, this cannot be my routine. I just like detonating my Saturday. So what I figured out is you got to work out on an empty stomach beforehand. Before you eat that big carbohydrate meal, you eat the whole fucking Little Caesars pizza to yourself. If you work out, you lift a little weights before you do that, then everything goes to your muscles. You don't get an ounce of fat from it, and you don't like have that like shameful, tired, fucking worn out feeling. Like you're actually energized. Like after you've got a good lift in, and then you eat like a whole pizza and a pint of ice cream, you're walking around like a goddamn like Xerxes in 300 and shit. You got people carrying you in a fucking throne and shit. You're like, you got your own Pope mobile. That's how I feel walking around Beverly Hills doing Postmates and shit after I've worked out and ate a whole pizza and a pint of ice cream, dude. I'm in some protein bars, son. I'm pumped up and I'm floating down Rodeo Drive, dude. It's a lot better feeling, and you get, you know, your craving, your kick, whatever you want. If you want to eat that, you know, that crazy, you want to go to that burger stand you've always wanted to go to and get the fucking full burger and the fat fries and the milkshake and everything, man, do it up. But just do it after you hit the gym. Get that fucking, get that energy drink and or that coffee hitter in the morning, you know, and roll up to the gym and get some work in. I do it like once every 3 days. I figure I need two rest days because I was doing, you know, every other day. But it's like, you don't want to be taking in that much sugar. Like yesterday I worked out, I probably ate 300 grams of sugar. I just put it all down, son. But it actually feels like your body needs it, you know, when you're working out like that. Sit-ups, AJ, I would do squats instead. I would do some slow motion, like good form squats. Make sure you're keeping your back straight. Keep it on that 45-degree angle and just use your legs and just go down slow. And the squat is the best exercise you could ever do. You know, I wouldn't do it real heavy. Do it to where you can get about 15 reps and do it slow motion. And then you'll really feel it. And that's that boosts your testosterone more than any other workout. That gets you feeling good. But that's how I built my own momentum to start. Like after that whole college bullshit, I went home and was real depressed, living with my parents and shit. And that was the thing that got me up and moving and thinking and acting and in a rhythm, was starting to work out. I used to do this other shit where I didn't like long distance running ever. Never long distance running, dude. That was always like just torture to me. I want to get it over with, and then I want to eat. So I would do sprints instead. And I would go around my neighborhood where I grew up. There was this circle, and I would do 30 seconds full sprint, 30 seconds walk. And dude, the first time you do that will tear you up. If you do it 10 times, do that interval. 30 second sprint, 30 second walk. Do that 10 times. And call me in the morning. Your legs will be on fire. Probably do it 5 times the first time you do it. Don't start out with 10, because that'll bust you up. What's up, Stavey? I was talking about the Hollywood Seduction, because it's like trying to sell a script out here to Hollywood is like seducing a hot woman that, lives with a rich family. She didn't necessarily earn her power, but she wants to make you fucking earn it. I'm generalizing and shit. I'm joking around. It's, you got to pay your dues out here in Hollywood. I know the deal. But yeah, I'm trying to sell one of these scripts. Oh, what's up, Julie? Been trying to do that too, but on the days where it's 20 degrees outside, it's more difficult to get out and go to the gym. But tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym. That's awesome. Yeah, just put a hoodie on, get out in the car, get that heat on, and then, it'll feel good. It'll give you a warmth throughout the day, really. Especially if you eat a lot of protein, eat them protein bars after. Maybe get like I got this stuff right here. This is like $17 for a big jar of it, and that's like 30 grams of protein in the scoop. And that'll make like a little milkshake type protein thing. And that'll get you fixed up. Put some ice in there and a little bit of, I'm going to show you the milk too. I got almond cashew milk, ladies and gentlemen. I took a trip to Ralph's. My rent check cleared, so you know what the fuck is going on. We're getting the groceries, all right? Protein, cashew, and almond milk, ladies and gentlemen. You mix that with the protein powder. A little bit of ice cubes, and you have it going on. But yeah, that's how I built my momentum back up. And then I decided that, I've always been influenced by George Carlin, and then I started getting into Bill Hicks, and I started listening to the Rogan podcast and him talking about stand-up, and it's like, yeah, it's the most fun thing I've ever done. Just trying to come up with jokes all the time, and going on stage at the fourth wall and whatnot. Trying to find a slot for this I got to get this new screenplay finished. I got to execute this one. I've been thinking about making like a simpler, like just big crazy action comedy, but this comedy horror political shit is like, it keeps bringing me back to it, and so my mind keeps going back to it. So I'm like, I'm gonna try that, because I've always loved Dr. Strangelove from Stanley Kubrick. Man, that movie is so absurd, dude. What is that actor's name? Let's see. Dr. Strangelove. Dude, that military officer where he's like arguing with his girlfriend and they're in the round circle in the war room talking about having nuclear war with Russia, and he's like having an argument with his side piece chick like on this like video telephone system. Oh, what the fuck, dude? What is his name? George C. Scott. He was in The Hustler as well. Mr. George C. Scott. That is a tremendous movie. So I like that political satire angle and the absurdity of it and like the horror of the power they actually have. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to get that screenplay vibe on. AJ says, I think the world's missing heterosexuality jokes. We only joke about homosexuality, but never heterosexuals. We joke about, heterosexuals getting raped in jail. That's a big joke. That one is like, it's so weird how common that joke is. Like, anytime somebody's going to jail, it's like a socially acceptable joke to be like, yeah, is he gonna fare well in jail? Like, it's just expected that you're gonna get anally raped in the cage they're holding you in. And it's like, what kind of society is this, dude? I don't hear any of the progressives talking about that. Like, Paul Manafort, they're talking about locking him in a cage for like, what? With like wire fraud, I think it was. I haven't looked at the exact charges for Paul Manafort, but locking him in a cage, I don't know. He'll probably have some white collar type of prison or something, but still, like, I mean, caging people for non-violent crimes is a little weird. Like, usually a cage would make sense if somebody's like an imminent threat to society. Like, if they're currently endangering the rest of the public by being out around people. Money laundering. Like, you're talking about what the big banks do every day. You're talking about what the Federal Reserve says they do. Like, I mean, they're just trying to knock out the pillars around Trump's administration and make it look as bad as it can so that when they try to pin something on Donald Trump at the end, when Mueller submits his report, they can be like, oh, the people around him were criminal, and it's like they can tie it all in with Trump. It's so crazy that there was like this open deep state coup that would almost happen with Rosenstein and Peter Strzok and like the FBI and James Comey and what's the new guy, McCabe, like this whole like plot to try to take out Donald Trump and use the 25th Amendment to justify it. And they were coordinating with the Mueller team and like, yeah, we're going to get him. And it's like just open in the media and everybody's like, look the other way. The same thing with the Hillary Clinton Steele dossier. Like, she literally paid a British intelligence officer to write a fake story about Donald Trump liking to get pissed on by Russian hookers. Do you realize how crazy that is? That's like the worst James Bond plot I've ever heard, dude. What do you want me to do, M? And she's like, just make some shit up. Just write a story and, yeah, say he likes getting pissed on by some hooker bitches. Do that. They'll believe that. They're Trump voters. What do you fucking think? It's so insane. It's like this open coup attempt and then like open like using the intelligence of another country to like try and pin some fake shit on the sitting president. Like, this is open, like, sedition level shit. It's insane, and nobody talks about it on the mainstream news. Brush past it. What's the new racist thing Trump did today? That's what we're talking about on the news. What? Oh, dude. Cannot let these people get power because they do not have any standards or principles or self-containment, any of these qualities. Not a good look. Those are not the type of people you want to hand over some political power to, the biggest government the world's ever seen. That's what's crazy about the government. Why it's such a death like battle every 4 years is because like it's starting to get so intense. Like elections didn't get used to be this intense. You know, it was like I don't know. Like it seems like it's getting more intense. Everybody probably thinks that of their own era, but this is like really combative partisan politics back and forth. Like Donald Trump is really a new level for sure. And because it is literally like for the party of the Democrats, it's a life and death situation metaphorically, politically. Because if they get that wall built, if Trump builds that wall, it is over for their shit because they're not going to be able to get those third world migrants coming in, signing up on the welfare system, and signing up to vote left to continue that welfare system being delivered. Oh, the incentives. And so if they get those incentives cut out, then you have to actually appeal to the American populace. Something the Democrats have a lot of trouble doing, apparently. Hillary Clinton hates half of them, and the whole party considers her, the gold standard. 98% chance to win. I mean, they did underestimate Donald Trump. That's the thing that's constantly in Donald Trump's favor is they constantly underestimate him, which is a great, thing for your enemy to do. Like he couldn't have planned it better, honestly, to like have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez leading the Democratic Party, talking about insane socialist policies that would collapse the economy in a week while his economy is steadily growing. And Bernie's the biggest like rising challenger on the left. And it's like, dude. And they continually set themselves up for him to make fun of them. That's why his rallies have basically become stand-up comedy shows where he's making fun of the left stepping on the rake and hitting themselves in the face over and over. They stepped on the rake again. Oh, fake news. All he has to say is Jussie Smollett. What a kook. You're literally setting the T-ball on the tee for Trump to knock it out of the park. Like over and over and over. And they keep him in the news cycle. Oh, it's the Daily News, how terrible Donald Trump is. And it's like, dude, only people like Tucker and Hannity occasionally will push back. But Alex Jones does the best job of it in terms of the information he puts out, but he also fucks up the good information with a lot of bad information at the same time. And so he has these other conspiracy theories that he'll throw in with the good information that'll just you'll be like, but that though, why are you focusing on animal-human chimeras? I don't know, it's kind of weird, but I don't think that's something major we need to worry about, that some scientist somewhere is making weird animal hybrids. I don't know. I guess it is kind of creepy the more you think about it. And now that I'm, stoned, it is kind of creepy to think about human-animal chimeras. I think in one of the early podcasts that I think we deleted, me and Kevin Bennett went off on human-animal chimeras, and we were like, how weird is this? That are they doing experimentation? Oh, you know why they silenced him, Kay Burgess. They silenced Alex Jones because he makes a lot of valid points, and ideologically he's a libertarian and he has a huge audience. And if people can get through the surface level propaganda on Alex Jones and actually listen to one of his shows, listen to one of his 3-hour shows while you're going about your day. I do it when I'm driving Postmates. I used to do it a lot more before he got banned off of the podcast apps. I can't tolerate the commercials. I got to be able to skip through that shit. But if you listen to him long form, he'll bring it around to making sense. But you can clip out little sections of Alex where it's like, makes him look like a complete retard. But he has, been right on top of a lot of government conspiracies, and he covered Obama's presidency super accurately. He was against the war in Iraq. He knows the Bushes were up to something, and he knows Obama was up to something. He's not this partisan Nazi, wacko that the left tries to make him out to be. He called it damn near, I think it was like a year in advance of the mainstream media having to admit that the Obama administration was funding, arming, and training ISIS/Al Qaeda in Syria and Libya. And then, trying to get regime change in those countries. And it's like, it's open treason. Like, we're trying to, that's our whole reason for being over there, is to get rid of those people. And we're instead thinking that this group is a rebel group and they're better than, Assad or Gaddafi. And Hillary Clinton goes on TV and laughs about when they killed Gaddafi, super barbaric in the street and shit. And she's like, we came, we saw, he died. Like, so cavalier with the idea of something like, killing an elected leader in a country. I should correct. I don't even know if he's elected. He may have been a dictator. Maybe possible. I may have gotten my information wrong. I've taken a pinch hit on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We've gone deep into the waters. Deep into the murky waters. But Alex Jones covered that accurately when the mainstream media was not at all. And he covered the WikiLeaks during the Trump administration. That's why he got such high ratings during the election. He covered the WikiLeaks accurately. He knew the Russia thing was bullshit from the beginning. And, I mean, the Russia thing is so plain to see if you followed the news on it. Like, WikiLeaks is not a Russian propaganda outlet. They actually exposed shit about the Iraq war that the left really agreed with. So they agreed with him back then. They've never been verifiably proven wrong with anything they've leaked. They have basically a perfect journalistic record. And the left always touted that when they were talking about the Iraq war. But then when they released the emails from Podesta and from Hillary, it turns out they're up to a lot of shady shit. It turns out that Hillary Clinton does have a private server in her fucking bathroom. She has private classified information, or she has government classified information on her private server that was easily hackable by anybody trying to get in there and steal state secrets, because she's taking that risk in order to not have it on the government server, so she doesn't have to give the Freedom of Information Act. She doesn't have to turn over that email account. So she gets private government access, okay, to world leaders, and she can sell influence all across the world and launder it through her foundation. The Clinton Foundation, that upstanding establishment, oh, what a shame in that we had to see that go. The Saudis were really disappointed when that had to go. But, okay, so that's what the WikiLeaks revealed. And they revealed her getting the debate questions. And they revealed the clear bias against Bernie Sanders. They revealed a lot of shit. And a lot of creepy shit with, pedophilia terminology on Podesta's email, talking about pizza parties with little kids in a hot tub. It's like, all right. All right. You do fit the profile with that little scrawny neck and fucking wispy hair and dark tan, just pencil necked and looking all uncomfortable all the time. Like, You want to, invite Bill Nye over for the kid party, you creep. The climate in this hot tub's just fine. Creepy bastards, dude. I don't trust them. The WikiLeaks, but I'm saying Alex Jones covered the WikiLeaks. That's what I'm getting around to. And so that was huge during the election, and they saw how he influenced people just by reporting on the facts of the situation when the mainstream media wouldn't. And so there's all this extra shit layered onto Alex Jones of insanity, of clear insanity. But you have to take the information, because it's an informational show. It's not just entertainment. It is entertaining when you take the joke of Alex Jones at the same time, but he will give you valid information if you cross-check what he's saying. Just look up what he's saying and then compare to what's happening in the mainstream media. And he wakes people up like a motherfucker. He wakes them up out of the matrix of the propaganda that's being layered on these people. It's valuable to be a victim, and oh my God, we've got an outcry and like an epidemic of toxic male masculinity, and straight white males are ruining the planet. It's like, not me. I'm just having beers and trying to make everybody laugh. Then fucking talk about ideas and shit, dude. That's people are seeing through the propaganda. It's nonsense. And if you listen to Alex Jones, he's an entertaining motherfucker, and he'll give you some valid information wrapped in the situation at some point. You just got to use that Google, baby. So it's egregious what they did to Alex Jones, taking him off all the platforms and everything. It's really unbelievable. But the motherfucker seems to be sustaining. He's selling brain pills, testosterone pills. He's getting people jacked out there in the info war. And still got his own app. Archer says there's a very obvious agenda around us. I think all of this is tied to a single goal. Jones, the pacification of man, Pizzagate, Obama, and Hillary. It all feels like one plan. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen Yuri Bezmenov, the Russian defector from the USSR, he talks about this cultural subversion, this type of cultural Marxism, because regular straight up Marxism didn't work, because everybody fundamentally wants to be rich. But if you can play people off by their races and genders and their, immutable characteristics, if you can convince people to be at odds based on those things, well, then you can create the oppressor and oppressed class where it used to be the rich and the poor. You can isolate the majority of one country, which would be straight white males in America, and you can label them the oppressors because they happen to be succeeding the most in a given society. It could be anybody. It could be blacks in Africa. But even then, as I say that, it's not even the case. East Asians and Ashkenazi Jews earn more than white males in America anyway. But this is the narrative they go with of it's just about numbers. I think it's the majority group. You label them the oppressors, and then all the minorities, you play to them politically and say, oh, they're taking some shit from you and they're trying to exploit you, and they don't really like you fundamentally, and they don't really want you around. And you feed this little seed of doubt in these people's minds, and then you can control them and you can control what they do. And that's what the left did. They used to be the party of slavery and the party of KKK and the party of Jim Crow, but they relinquished the direct slavery and went for a mental slavery. And that's what Kanye West was talking about when he talks about slavery was a choice. He's not talking about 400 years ago. He's talking about when it became mental slavery. All right? When it wasn't chains, it was a narrative about somehow some other group didn't want you around and didn't want you to succeed. And once you buy into that narrative, they got you. And that's the Democratic plantation. But I think with Trump, that actually inspired people to come to that realization. And that's why you see Kanye wearing the MAGA hat and nobody fucking understands it. And it's because the left can only see things through their goggles because they're not focused on truth. They're focused on what gets me power, what works, what's practical. There's an element of what works and what's practical and what's true. It's like subsects of the same thing, but you guys get it. You guys understand? Yeah. The leftists don't understand. They think it's all an act. But when you're focused on truth and you have a purpose and you're putting that fucking cross on your back and you're staggering up the fucking hill one step at a time, then, you know, that's how you fucking are excited to get out of bed every day and kick some ass. All right, what else is happening in the news? I've done enough fucking soapbox ranting. Tucker Carlson unearthed naughty comments. Gives a fuck. Let's see. Move over Bezos. Man called the Golden King was the richest person to have ever lived. I still can't get over that Jeff Bezos sent a dick pic that cost him $70 billion. Dude, that's $70 billion dick pic, son. Who did he send it to? Who did Jeff Bezos send his dick pic to? Jeff Bezos sent a dick pic to somebody, and that's part of what broke up his marriage. So now his ex-wife gets half of his fortune, and he's the $140 billion man, that head of Amazon. Dude. That's an impressive dick pic. Oh, it's like modern art. You know, it's not necessarily impressive in itself, but it's impressive that somebody took a picture of it, and it's and that it's worth something. All right, so Jeff Bezos, dick pic. Jeff Bezos dick pic commentary has begun. Who leaked the dick pics? Jeff Bezos was blackmailed with a dick pic. And people think that the White House was involved. Oh, of course they're trying to tie it into Trump. Trump is to blame. Of course the guy who runs the Washington Post would blame Trump for sending his own dick pic. Dude. What in the fuck? Oh. Pecker. Oh my God. The CEO of Amazon wrote in a Medium post on Thursday that American Media Inc., the publisher of the National Enquirer, led by David Pecker, was in possession of Bezos' amateur boudoir photography and threatened to release them unless Bezos stops his investigation into how Pecker got the Pecker photos in the first place. Dude! The National Enquirer had dick pics on Jeff Bezos. Oh, somebody leaked them. Oh my God. If you're worth $140 billion and you're taking a picture of your own dick, that's how you know you're not focused on truth. That's how you know that you own the Washington Post and you're just trying to take down Trump in a political power move because you want to get your friends in power and get even more tax breaks and get even more fucking favors from your government cronies. Jesus Christ. He's on that $140 billion dick pic game. Well, chop that in half now, and the ex-wife's getting a slice of that cake. Okay? That is incredible. There's a $70 billion woman out there walking around. All right? How much would it take you to commit to one woman? Trump was behind him in Trump accent. You're going to take that dick picture and send it. Trust me, they're going to love it. It's going to be amazing. That I can tell you. I hope Trump wasn't in the room. That would be horrific. I think Bezos was, just bored in a hotel room going on some of that self dick play. That's 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 an amateur move, man. No girls want that. If they ask you to send it, that means they don't want you to send it. That's a test to see how fucking weird you are. If you're gonna send your dick, especially if you put your face in the picture, like you looking down the cameras, and you just obviously implicate yourself in some weird shit, like Anthony Weiner. Like if you do some shit like that, like the low angle looking up, like your face behind your dick and shit, that's creepy. No girl wants any dick pic. She's just shit testing you to see if you'll do it, if you're that weird. No girl wants to see your dick in a text message. No attractive, successful dude who's on top of his shit is taking time out of the middle of his day to snap a picture of his dick and text it to somebody, man. That is just barbaric. All right? That's barbaric. Put it away. But again, when you're not focused on truth, you can get bogged down in some shit. When you're not focused on the failures of the Obama administration and the unjust reaction to the Trump administration, when you're not focused on the fake news, you get into some weird shit. It's unfortunate. All right? We need to orient toward the truth. Anthony Weiner's getting out of prison this year. Hide your kids, hide your wife. We can't let our daughter play soccer outside anymore. It's over. Weiner's coming back. Weiner's coming back to the cul-de-sac. He's looking to party. He's opening a bottle of wine later tonight. You're welcome to join. He's going to be snapping pics on the dark web. Oh, God. Get out of my neighborhood. You subverter. I've spotted a subverter. K. Burgess says, I was thinking, is someone introduced honestly to our system? Is someone introduced honestly to our system, it would collapse. I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, we need our bullshit. Oh, yeah, it has to be, you can't show your 8 or 9-year-old Alex Jones rants and be like, this is reality. There's the elite are taking DMT, all right, and they're thinking they're looking into another dimension, all right, and they're getting all screwed up in the head, and they're sacrificing babies, and they want post-birth abortions, and they want to siphon them organs and throw them in a truck in the back and have them shipped out to China, and China's running this operation with Apple, and they're all in on it with the child organ transportation. It's the new slave trade. It's enslaving the organs of unborn children. You can't show that to your 8-year-old and be like, that's reality. No, you got to ease people into it. But if they don't have the propaganda of public school, that's why I'm on a homeschool when I have a kid. And I refuse to send my kid into some propaganda center where strangers are going to raise him based on some ideas that I haven't evaluated in the Common Core curriculum. No, I'm going to find a good woman that wants to be a stay-at-home mom and teach the kid some shit. Teach the kid the lesson plans that I design, all right? I will be designing the lesson plans, and we will start slow, all right? We're going to start from the ground up. We're going to start with the history of banking, all right? We're going to get Fractional reserve banking. It's never too early to introduce that topic. All right? We introduce a healthy skepticism of the Jews in the banking industry. None of that fractional reserve horse shit, all right? That's too sneaky. You can't do that, all right? The Federal Reserve, it's an illegitimate institution. They just print their money. I would go in too hard. Got to introduce them slowly, all right? Little pieces at a time. But you filter that hardcore reality check lesson plan through the mind of a good woman who's going to be at home teaching your child. Or you can just, I'll probably make podcasts when I have a kid that will include the lesson plan. You have to study my rants at school and write an essay about it. And then when I get home and when I wake up in the morning, I will read the essay that my child has written and give him a grade on how well he digested the arguments. I mean, the most fucking asshole dad ever. Dad makes me give reports on his rants. He has a maniacal podcast. He drinks a lot and he's really loud, but he makes a lot of sense. And it's like, it's not all bad, but it's weird. You can still go hang out with your friends and play pickup football, all right, after you're homeschooled. There's no anti-socialization. You just get that proper education. Probably basketball more than football. We don't need that head trauma, son. Let's not do that. Let's not go into any combat sports or football. Let's preserve your brain cells there. I mean, unless you're just 6'5", all muscle and you can windmill dunk a basketball, and it's like, well, at that point, go into basketball. That's what I'm saying. Basketball is a better alternative. Keep that head trauma at a minimum, baby. That's a good rule of thumb for life. I got knocked out playing football one time, man. I was on that kickoff coverage team. I was on that, it was peewee football. It was like 6th grade. It was 6th grade football. I was a lineman. I hated it because I basically wasn't talented enough to do anything else. I wasn't lifting weights and shit. I was just like out there. Like, my parents told me to do this. I'd rather be playing basketball. And I went out there. I was on kick coverage one time in a game, and I was running down, and we ran down, and he kicked the ball off. And as soon as I turned around, there was this giant motherfucker they had on the front line of the return team, had like scouted me out and was head hunting me when my head was turned. And I turned right around, and he fucking popped me. He was like almost twice as big as I was, and everything went black. And I was just woke up looking at the sky, and I was like, fuck football, dude. Fuck this shit. I am not aware enough for this sport. All right, my brain's gonna pay the penalty for that bullshit. So I had my sports failures in basketball and received little to no head trauma as a result. I just airballed some 3-pointers, choked in a couple clutch situations, and got demoted to the JV team there. That's how it goes sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know success without failure. Got to airball 3 every now and then, son. Keep you humble. AJ said, that's how I headbutted my gym teacher's assistant. I knocked the clipboard out of his hand. Holy shit. You headbutted somebody? That's the most hardcore thing I've ever heard. I've always seen headbutts in movies. And if you ever seen, if you know MMA at all, Boss Rutan, and he has these self-defense tapes online where he talks about headbutting people, where you get in this thing like you're considering, and you'll cross your arms over like that, and you do that, and they'll never see the headbutt coming. You hit him with the headbutt, and then you got the elbow too. Some crazy shit like that. But I've never thought to use my head as a weapon. That's some hardcore caveman shit right there, son. You fell to the ground. That's what I'm talking about. It's that self-inflicted wound, son. I'm using my knuckles, dude. I'm putting my butt into that punch if I'm gonna hit somebody in the face. I don't know about using your own noggin. Then you're sloshing your own brain around, and you're like, that's why it's considered such a hardcore move, is because it's like you're definitely doing a little damage to yourself, but you're just being extra badass about it to let this motherfucker know that you mean business. And at some level, I respect that. But at some level, I'm like, there's better ways. What about a front leg turning side kick, you know? Bring that knee up and turn the hips, you know what I'm saying? Take somebody's spleen out. Oh, you didn't headbutt him on purpose. I thought you were beefing with the guy and you fucking went headbutt. That's hilarious, dude. Oh yeah, if you know how to use your forehead, you can break their fists. If somebody throws their bare knuckles at you, man, that crown of that head is super fucking hard. They're gonna have a hard time knocking you out in that spot. That's that thick bone right there. That'll crunch a knuckle up for sure. And it's weird. I've heard that the reason you want to hit a motherfucker on the jaw, it's not because there's a nerve running right there or anything. It's like it just gives that torque, and it like makes the head whip. And it's that head whip that like sloshes your brain around inside your skull and gives you a concussion. So I think you're probably doing that to yourself in a headbutt. But he didn't do it on purpose. I thought he was going after him, like Mankind on WWF and shit, with a get you in a sock in your mouth and fucking headbutt you and shit. On some hardcore backstage wrestling. K Bird said, I love playing hood football, just the other kids from the neighborhood. Yeah, when you're little, it's dope because nobody can really hit each other that hard. But like, yeah, when you playing like 11 and 12 years old, that's when it's the dopest. But then every now and then you get that Shaquille O'Neal size 11 or 12-year-old that just fucks you up. You thought you could get outside on the toss, and he was coming on a blitz from the outside and just crunches your ribs. And you're like, oh my God, we should have played two-hand touch. But when you're younger, it's a lot better because people aren't fully developed. They're not like super athletes at that point trying to take your head off. That's when it gets dicey. I mean, when it gets high school, when it gets like 6th grade on, you get some legit athletes, I've had some light head trauma, nothing serious. Just light head trauma. The worst was probably, you can't see it now, but I got a scar under here. I was riding bikes with my homie back in my hometown, Trey, and he was badass at riding bikes. He was a little dude, so he would go off jumps and just get air, and he would do like tricks and shit. I would just barely get any air because I was a big snack having motherfucker. And so one time we were driving down the side of this ditch behind my house. There was this big drainage ditch with grass on the sides of it and concrete at the bottom, just big and wide. You'd have little wild onions growing on the side of it type shit. And then it had a lip where the grass ended and the concrete started. When Trey cruised right to the left side of that lip at the concrete, I wasn't paying attention to where my tire was hitting. It dug right into that lip between the grass and the concrete, and I went soaring over the handlebars and just chin first on the concrete ditch, dude. Oh, I was going like 20 miles an hour and shit. Just barely got my hands up and just skidded on my chin. It was just hanging down and shit. I had blood all over my shirt. Walked into my house. I said, God damn, mother, I murdered someone. By that point, like, we were just delirious and laughing at the shit because it was so absurd how bad my chin got road rashed. We were like, God damn, that's ugly. And my dad was super calm about the shit. That's what's cool about my dad. He'd keep his cool in a crisis. He's like, all right, definitely got to go to the emergency room. All right, pack up the car. Warm up the car. And my mom was like, oh my God, running around and shit. And took me to that ER, and I was sitting there with an ice pack on my fucking chin for like 2 hours watching Conan O'Brien. Conan helped keep my mind off the pain. I used to watch a lot of fucking Conan growing up when he had that 11:30 slot in the Midwest, right after Jay Leno, before the extra late night bullshit. That was his prime time, like, killer funny slot. When he got to the Tonight Show, it wasn't right. But when he was on, NBC, that late night 11:30 slot, dude, there was some of the most hilarious bits where they would have. I don't know if you remember Joel, the announcer from Conan O'Brien. But they would have ridiculous shit like the masturbating bear, but then they would always bring in Max Weinberg, this drummer guy from the E Street Band with Bruce Springsteen. They would have this, like, over the Christmas break. They would come back after Christmas break and they would show the Christmas party. It was just a series of photos that were like photoshopped. And it was like, the creepy old announcer Joel, like with his big, like, open mouth smile and like weird, like, just decrepit old man shit. And he's like always ends up naked, over at Conan's house, and they're just disgusted, and it's like, oh, that late night shit with Conan was tremendous. Whenever he had Norm Macdonald on, it was always murder, dude. Norm Macdonald was so fucking hilarious, man. There were some people that just got that late night 7-minute clip material locked in and just kill it. Like Bill Burr does it now. He's the best on Conan, but yeah, it's some good memories staying up late to catch the Conan show. And that's, that's probably, when the first time I was regularly watching somebody do stand-ups. Basically the opening monologue is a stand-up. Got a team of writers, but it's stand-up style. And Conan would do that shit with the fucking string, pulling his hips up and clip the string. Just like the fucking ridiculous hair, dude. Conan was pretty awesome, man. But that's, one of the things that inspired you to want to do the stand-up right there. And then it was George Carlin, watching my parents watch George Carlin. My, half in, half out Catholic parents watch George Carlin talk about how, religious metaphysics are bullshit, and then watching their faces be like, well, I can't really argue with that. And it is hilarious. And it's like, this is what I'm talking about. Not to, if you believe in Christianity, you're probably not the worst person. If you actually live to the virtues of it, you're probably a damn good person. It's just you believe some wacky shit. And they do a good job of taking a joke for the most part. I mean, George Carlin went over pretty goddamn well in America. He sold some tickets. And so they have a sense of humor about it. Unlike, the Muslims or the Jews there. They get real sensitive if anybody criticizes them. But Christians are like, we're used to it. We don't give a fuck anymore. We just do our thing. Yeah, we're killing it. I'm having a good time. Barbecuing, praying to Jesus. Giving the dick to my wife. We're having a good time. Nothing wrong with that, dude. That's a healthy, functioning cog in a free society right there. Tailgate, baby. Kashava gets it. Yeah, George Carlin made fun of everybody, definitely. He was a little more like 60s counterculture, making fun of the religious right. That was the meat of like his most like legendary groundbreaking shit that he did on HBO. But he would make fun of the other shit too. But yeah, and then digging into Bill Hicks material, it's like, dude, he took it to another fucking level. And then Patrice, one of my biggest inspirations, is how he owns a room and his presence on stage, that elephant in the room, baby. If you haven't seen it, go look up Patrice O'Neal at the Comedy Store sometime. It's an hour-long set, and he just sits on the stool and owns the room in Hollywood for an hour, and it's just hysterical, dude. He calls people out for like not really like liking their women as friends, and they just want to fuck them, and he calls them out, couples out at the table, and he's like, you don't really. If she didn't have the pussy, you wouldn't be hanging out with her, right? Like, oh, dude, he's just. My favorite shit from him of all time is when he would play with the audience. He would be like, women, what would you do if. What would you do to keep your man if you couldn't fuck him? You can talk, say things. Come on, give me something. What would you do if you couldn't fuck him? And some girl said, suck his dick. And some girl said, put it in the ass, anal. And he's like, well, here you are wanting dignity and respect. Meanwhile, you just classified yourself as a series of holes. And it's very disturbing. That's that is a classic fucking bit. He's tremendous, man. So yeah, dude. What were we talking about? We were talking about Carlin. We were talking about Jeff Bezos' dick pic. That's that's unbelievable. $70 million dick pic, dude. That's gonna be in museums. All right. It should be in a museum. $70 billion dick pic. The disintegration of masculinity. The $140 billion man cucked out and digitized his cock. Oh, shit. All right, well, I'm out of booze, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2 o'clock in the a.m. I appreciate y'all hanging out, having a good time, laughing with me. Enjoyable as always. I'll probably be back tomorrow night. After that fourth wall, I'll be posting some clips out on Instagram at Nick Jordan himself. Find me on Twitter at I am Nick Jordan. Full podcast audio is on Outrage Cast, all the podcast apps and whatnot. And yeah, like it if you like it. Share it out if you want to share the ideas, baby. And we're going to keep it on rocking. All right, I'll sign off for tonight. Good night, you beautiful bad motherfuckers in outrageous stand.